What's up guys, C2113 here. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the FFPower P2001 solar power station with UPS functionality. Alright guys, so what we got here is the FFPower portable power station, 2000 watt. You know how this goes on Amazon. The product names are always ridiculously long, but I'm pretty sure the model number is P2001, so P2001. Now, this is very, very similar. In fact, I'm going to just say it, identical to the Oukitel unit, except that it's anywhere from $100 to $300 cheaper than the Oukitel unit. The only difference that I can see is you're saving money. So therefore, I went with this one. However, if you trust Oukitel better and maybe their customer service and all that, then by all means, go ahead. I will include links down below for both if you want to check them out. But with that being said, at the time of purchase, I was able to get this with an included coupon for around $1,400. Now, that obviously is subject to change. Currently, it's now gone up in price. It's now $1,599, so $1,600, and there is no currently available instant ad coupon like there was when I bought it. So my guess is maybe if you wait, the price will go down. But for now, that's what it is. As always, links below. So anyway, why don't we just go ahead and jump right in? Now, this unit in particular is special because it has UPS functionality. Now, of course, that is a rare feature on portable power stations and solar generators. But for our uses here, I've already got plenty of portable solar generator videos. You can check those out. I'll put some in the card above so you can take a look. But portable solar generators are a dime a dozen these days. That's not where your real functionality is going to come from now. Now, with concerns about the power grid and even just in general in my area, when we lose power, it's for extended periods of time, and generally we're further away than when we used to live closer to a city. So obviously that makes things a little bit more difficult. So having some sort of backup power makes sense. I'm gonna just dump this out, guys. Give me 1 second. All right, let me see if I can slide it out this way. Let's see if we can use inertia to our advantage, huh? I just got to get it out enough that I can grab it. There we go. All right, there it is. All right, so obviously you can see quite a large box. You can see on the front there, there's our power station. On this side, we've got our specs, as you can see there. Now, an important distinction to make: this power station is lithium iron phosphate, so none of that NMC or nickel, manganese, cobalt type battery technology that has a much shorter cycle life. This thing is going to be good for several thousand charge cycles before reaching 80% capacity. Obviously far less prone to fire, and in general just much longer lived cells. So again, that's something that's important for something that might do long-term duty as a UPS or uninterruptible power supply for critical loads in the house. Now you can see here, it does say UPS, and this is just showing that for UPS functionality, it's only capable of powering a constant load of 1100 watts. Any more than that, and it will probably drain the battery and be unable to power that load. However, for your AC inverter output, your total output for constant load is actually 2000 watts. So you do have a 2000 watt inverter, but for UPS functionality, you've got to keep it 1100 or lower. Now you can see your DC output here you can do 12 volts at 3 amps. And for your cigarette lighter port, you can do 12 volts, 10 amps, which is pretty standard. We'll have to try later to see how that DC 12 volt hairdryer runs on that cigarette lighter port. Your XT60 connector is capable of supporting 12 volts to 10 amps as well. So your USB is going to be 5 volt 2 amps, and you do actually have quick charge 3.0 ports. I don't know how many, it could just be one. We'll take a look. Your Type C, you can see 100 watt max up to 20 volts. Again, this is really cool to see. Your dimensions, millimeters, we'll talk about that, but this thing weighs about 42 pounds, I want to say. And your operating temperature is below freezing, as you can see, -10. I don't remember what that is. I'll put on screen what that is in Fahrenheit, up to 40 degrees C. Now, the important thing to note though is I don't think this has a low temp cutoff, so you still don't want to charge this thing below freezing, but it will operate below freezing. And on this side, what do we have? Just some basics talking about charge your power station when you get it, la 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 la. All right, and obviously just warnings about children and batteries. So why don't we go ahead and open this thing up and see what comes inside. All right, we've got nice thick foam. So definitely, wow, look at the thickness of that. I mean, you definitely won't have to worry about this thing getting damaged. And there's our solar generator. Again, pretty dense, so it's going to be a little bit of an effort to get it out. All right, and I will note that this thing has a compartment on top, so I'm just going to double check to make sure there's nothing underneath. No, that's it. So everything is actually contained within this unit. Take a look here. All right, guys, so I've got a slightly better camera angle so you guys can hopefully see the whole power station a little bit better. On top, we've just got our instruction manual here. It's in 2 languages, Japanese and English. All right, so here is the power station, and this is what I was telling you about. There are no chargers. The AC charger is actually internal, so the only thing you're going to need is a power cable, and all of those cables are stored up here. There's a nice little neat compartment up here. Here's your AC cable, obviously pretty thick gauge wire because this is going to be transferring 1100 watts of power. You have a car to Anderson adapter. So this is for a cigarette lighter port. This is great for charging on the go. And of course, you've got an MC4 to Anderson connector here for your solar connections. And so what I'm going to do now is set up one of the boxes just so I can prop this unit up so you get a better look at the control panel, because that's what we're going to look at next. All right, guys, so here's a look at the control panel. Obviously, we've got a little protective film on the screen here. We'll go ahead and pull that off. So to turn the unit on, here's your power button. Press and hold. Power button lights up. The unit will cycle the fan, as you can hear, and your screen comes on. As you can see, this in the center, giving you your charge capacity in percent and a visual indication with the segments as well. Also, I'll obviously note there are a lot more segments than on, let's say, your Blue Eddy units and stuff like that. So that's good to see, and definitely good to see percentage. Over here, you have your remaining charge indicator. So that just tells you how many hours you can run with the current draw. So basically, with nothing on, the unit can stay on for obviously an insanely long period of time. However, let's take a look over here. You can see this is the light. Now there's a peculiarity with the light in that if you just press it once, you'll see it doesn't actually turn on. You have to press and hold, and then it turns on, as you can see. And then if you press it again with a quick press, you get into SOS mode, which I guess is useful. And then if you press it again, it's just flashing, and if you press it one more time, it shuts off. So it's a little annoying that you have to hold, but I can understand that maybe they don't want accidental activation. So I can see that. Now for every other control, it's a quick press. So for your USB output, quick press. You can see the indicator on the screen here, and these two in the center are your quick charge 3.0 ports. These two are your 2.4 amp outputs, and then these are your 100 watt USB-C PD outputs. Now over here, you've got your 12 volt output. Again, press once and hold. You'll see the indicators here for your 12 volt comes on. Obviously, as we switch on these different DC outputs, you can see the charge time remaining goes down. Here you have your 12 volt cigarette lighter port. We will be testing later if that is regulated. Here you have a XT60 connector. And then down here you have your standard 12 volt barrel plugs. Now for our AC output, we have to rotate the unit. It's on this side and your ports are hidden behind this door. Now this isn't my favorite design because having a door in the way, if you're going to have constant use of this area, isn't my favorite thing in the world. I understand they want this to protect the ports, but there should also be some way to maybe retract it into the unit if they want to make sure you don't lose it. But still, it's nice that they're off to the side, although it would have been nice to see one AC port on the front of the unit just for easier access. And then these could be either on the side or the back for a more permanent setup. So to turn this on, obviously, same quick press. You can hear the relay click. And you can see the AC inverter definitely decreases the remaining time shown. Now, interestingly, you don't see that change on the output, which leads me to suggest that the output meter doesn't accurately represent inverter loss, as it's probably not on the battery side. It might be up to this panel. And so there might be something going on too with the programming, right? Maybe the programming is set up so that it doesn't show the inverter draw from just running the inverter, and it only shows draw based on what you plug in. But we're gonna do that next when we get to the testing. All right, guys, so we're gonna do some basic testing now. First things first, right? We've got my phone. So we're gonna go ahead and plug it in via the USB-C, and we're gonna see what kind of charge we get. Now with this, with my phone, if it shows a blue circle charging animation, that means it is super fast charging. And as you can see, super fast charging. And then that's showing a charge rate of up to 25 watts. Now, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it's only showing about 13 to 14 watts right now. We'll test it with something else. So I've got a power bank right here. We're gonna plug that in. So this is only capable of accepting 18 watts max. And you can see it's accepting about 15. So that might actually be accurate for the super fast charge. I think my phone being at 79% means that it's not gonna achieve maximum charge speeds to begin with. But of course, we're gonna continue with testing. Now, of course, we need to know, is this regulated? Now, this unit arrived with 32% charge. So that's gonna be a good indication to see if this is regulated or not. Now, it's important to note that lithium iron phosphate chemistry to begin with has a much more stable voltage curve and a voltage curve that is much more conducive to 12 volt appliances running just fine throughout the vast majority of the charge curve without issue. So this may not be regulated, but still that also may not be a problem given lithium iron phosphate's chemistry advantages. So let me go ahead and get a multimeter and we'll take a look. All right, guys, so I've got my multimeter here again. I can't find my digital meter, unfortunately, but this should be enough to give us a good idea, considering we're at 32% state of charge, what we're working with. Based on what I can read, we're reading a solid 13.5 volts. Let me see if I can prop this up so you guys can see. So I don't know if you guys can see that. We're bumping up right against just under 15, so probably like 14.5 volts. So that is very good. You're gonna get a lot of power out of your 12 volt devices if you plug them in there. I don't think this is gonna be a problem. I definitely think this unit is regulated because at this state of charge, I don't think we would be seeing that high of voltage. So that's good to know that regardless of state of charge, the voltage isn't gonna change. Next, let's go ahead and test that AC output, of course. So as I demonstrated in a previous video, you probably have seen this artificial flame electric heater. It has two modes, 750 watts and 1500 watts. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna plug this in to the AC output, and then I'm gonna go ahead and switch it on. It's currently on the 1500 watt mode. I don't know if you can see that, guys, but it is coming up now. We're getting 1193 watts. So, you know, not quite 1500 watts, but still quite a bit of power coming out. And the crazy thing is it shows you the time as well. So let me make that screen a little brighter. You can see with this heater running, it should be able to run for 24 minutes. So that is pretty cool. The fact that a unit this size is running a load this large, because I have power stations that are much larger. You can check out my Bluetti AC100 review up top by clicking that card, and you'll see that unit had 1000 watt hours of capacity, but only had a 600 watt inverter. So to see power stations coming out like this at reasonable prices with really high output inverters, that's cool. But now we know the AC inverter works. So the last thing, of course, we've got to test is we got to see what kind of max charge rate can we get out of this unit, right? Because with no charger and no solar panel, let's just say you're just going to use it as a backup power system. How fast can you charge this from just an outlet? Let's take a look. All right, so we've got this here. All right, so I got the cable, and we might have to move to a position where I've got access to an outlet. So just give me 1 second, guys. All right, guys, I've got this plugged in on the other end to the wall. Let's now take a look at our input panel here. You can see we've got our AC input, and then of course our Anderson input there. You can see 15 amp max for that input for the solar, so 500 watt max. And over here you've got 1100 watt supercharge, as they're calling it. Let's go ahead and see just how super this charge really is. Oh, and something I didn't notice actually earlier when taking a look at this unit, there's actually a circuit breaker right here. So that's pretty cool. If you overload it, you can just push that back in instead of having to worry about an internal fuse somewhere that you can't replace easily. All right, let's go ahead and plug this thing in and see what we get. All right, guys, take a look at this. The charge input rate is going up. You can see our input wattage is going up. We've got the supercharge indicator there. We're still going up. If you look at that. So look at that. That's an accurate rating of 1100 watts. We're currently at 1099. And it keeps bumping right off of 1100. So indeed, it can charge at 1100 watts. At that charge rate, even completely dead, this thing probably won't take longer than 3 hours to recharge, which is pretty cool, to be honest with you. All right, guys, so obviously this has been my first look. I haven't had time to really put it through its paces when it comes to long-term durability, but so far I have to say I'm really impressed. If you're looking for something that's going to be a great home backup system or mobile power station for, let's say, an RV or a camper van or something like that, this really could be a low-cost solution that gives you more bang for your buck over something like a Bluetti unit. Now, obviously, that 500 watt solar input is a limiting factor if you're planning to only use solar. However, 500 watts will still get you by depending on how much power you're using, and obviously this has a huge capacity, so that's a big factor as well. But for home use, you've got UPS functionality, massive battery capacity in a compact package, long cycle life with the lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and you've got that super fast charging. So let's say you're in an area that gets frequent blackouts, your power comes on for a day, then goes out for 2, then comes on and goes off every now and then during, let's say, if you're in the West, wildfire season, and if you're in the East, maybe, hurricane or storm season, whatever it is, this gives you a great ability to quickly recharge the unit when you have power and then run off of it for extended periods of time when you're without power. Anyway, guys, that's been my first look at the FFPower P2001. As always, links can be found in the description, both for this and the Alcatel or Alcatel unit, which I think is pretty much the same thing. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to give me a like. If you have any questions, comments, your own experiences with the P2001, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you want to see more, don't forget to get subscribed.